Tonight, a fire emergency at one of the largest oil refineries in the U.S.
Oh, my God.
Footage shows flames and thick black smoke ripping through Marathon Petroleum in Garyville, Louisiana, about 40 miles west of New Orleans. The fire burning through a storage tank and causing the leak of a potentially dangerous chemical, prompting evacuation orders and schools to go on lockdown.
The smell was bad. And I was like, we got to go inside. I didn't want to breathe it in any longer than I needed to.
Lindsay Montz lives near the plant. Her daughter, along with hundreds of her classmates, sheltering in place at a local high school.
I was in shock. I actually took a video and I was like, oh, my God. I've never seen anything like that before. It was crazy.
Marathon Petroleum, which runs the refinery, says the chemical being released into the air is known as naphtha.
It's a partially refined product that we use it as feedstock or components to make gasoline.
According to the CDC, short-term exposure is associated with eye and lung irritation, respiratory issues, and a slowing down of the nervous system.
We're pumping out the tank. We've since we're shutting down the refinery.
Garyville resident Tashelle Miles captured this video after walking outside not knowing dangerous chemicals were in the air.
I looked up and I just saw this, gigantic bellowing cloud, and my heart just dropped. I was like, oh, my God.
She says there was a delay in receiving warnings about that toxic air.
If we would have received any type of notice exactly when it happened immediately, we could have said, okay, well, let's at least drive out of the area.
Now, hours after the fire began, Miles is still at home, which is near that plant. She's studying environmental science at LSU, aware of the risks of naphtha, but unwilling to leave her pets behind to go to a shelter.
Unfortunately, some of the hotels are taken up. Some people cannot just afford to up and leave at the drop of a dime right now and go to a hotel.
Mandatory evacuation orders have been lifted, but some residents like Miles left with concerns about her home and her family.
I wanted to have kids here and everything, but there's a school that's maybe a mile away from the plant, an elementary school. So it's like we're stuck.
All right, for the latest on the fire, Cassie Schirm from our New Orleans affiliate WDSU is outside that refinery in Garyville and joins us live now. Cassie, what's the status on the firefight at this hour and the safety of that toxic air?
Well, the first thing is the fire has been majority contained. So you can see back behind me here, not a lot of plume, not a lot of smoke of what we were seeing earlier, but they still are having pop-ups. Occasionally we'll see the plumes come right back up, and that's what the crews are working on right now. So that's not necessarily a concern. That's what authorities are telling us. They're saying it's pretty normal when it comes to something like this. But when it comes to the air quality, they actually have ran tests, and they said so far things are looking okay. But right now, as we speak, I mean, it's clear. 3 hours ago, this entire area was nothing but smoke, very heavy. It was hard to breathe. I was actually even having a hard time. We had to move our live shot a couple times earlier in the noon just because of how thick that smoke was. So it was definitely a concern for many neighbors in the area as they were trying to evacuate out.
Cassie, did you have a chance to speak to those residents that were evacuating or those that decided to stay?
Yeah, we were. We did speak to a majority of the residents that were staying in some of those church areas as well as the schools. It was a mandatory evacuation. So this entire area here has about 8,000 people who live within that two-mile radius. And so we did speak to them. A lot of them were trying to grab things as they were going, because, I mean, it was scary when you're seeing a huge plume coming from this building here as you're driving by. I mean, people were stopping and taking pictures as they were leaving just because they didn't know. And we had talked to the refinery asking, is any of this stuff combustible where it could possibly explode? And they said, there's always a possibility with that. And they were just trying to make sure that didn't happen. And so that's why that mandatory evacuation was enlisted here.
Cassie Schirm from our great NBC affiliate there, New Orleans, WDSU. Cassie, we appreciate all your reporting, you and your team. We thank you for that.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.